At the end of your life, what will be your legacy? What will you leave behind for future generations? For the world, join the World Messenger, Izabela Lundberg, each week as she brings you a new distinguished guest from the business, sports, or entertainment world to share their success, their struggles, and their lessons. They will share their insights into current hot topics that affect everyone. Izabela facilitates an intimate, vulnerable environment to find the true value of humanity and real leadership. Are you ready for your legacy? The legacy that matters?
Hello, my beautiful friends. It's Izabela Lundberg here, the World Messenger, and I'm inviting you for another epic episode of Legacy Leader Show. And today, you guys are absolutely for a treat. I have here with me someone that has such an expensive experience, former veteran and turning into pro actor, and some amazing work that he's not only currently doing, but also work that he did in the past that is beautifully showing how what is possible to achieve when you put your mind to. So we're going to have a chance to dive deep in some of the roles that he's currently doing, some new things that I will be opportunity for you guys to see, and obviously projects that are in the works that you have to wait and anticipate. But more than anything, to really see what made him to turn into a pro actor, what did he learn from his experiences as a veteran, and also serving in one of my neck of the woods back in former Yugoslavia. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Dustin Prince. Hi, Dustin. How are you?
Hey, Izabela. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm just thrilled to have this conversation. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for your service.
My pleasure.
And also, I am so obviously even more deeper grateful because we're right now into Thanksgiving spirit when we express the gratitude and the fact that you were serving, I believe you mentioned 11 months, which we're going to get to it in specifically in Bosnia and borders of Bosnia and Croatia during the time when peacekeeping agreement was signed or about to be signed, which we're going to get into stories now. I just wanted to say makes it even so much more real because you witnessed so much that we experienced during the collapse of former Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
So before we dive into all of that, do you mind sharing where did you grow up and what made you excited or desiring to go to military route?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Bismarck, Arkansas, which is just south of Little Rock. And yeah, I was pretty much raised by my grandparents. And you know, growing up, my father always introduced me to films. Some films he probably, as a kid, probably shouldn't have introduced me to, but that was totally fine. But my first love for film came when I watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is a great film, by the way. And you know, Laurel and Hardy and things like comedies like that. And I just fell in love with film and the whole process and how actors bring, you know, things to life. And then I graduated high school in '93 and tried college for a couple of semesters, and it just wasn't for me. And I think I was working at Sears at the time in Hot Springs, and I was just like, I got to get out of here. I need something else to do. This is not very fulfilling for me. So I ended up joining the military, joining the Army, and went field artillery. Went to basic and AIT in Fort Sill. And after that, I was shipped off to Germany. And then 3 months later, I was shipped off to Bosnia for 11 months. So, yeah.
Wow. What a cultural shock. I mean, I'm assuming, I mean, I've been in Arkansas and it's like very different.
Well,
and then
actually, you know, I mean, Bosnia, if you go to Northwest Arkansas, there is a lot of Bosnia that is like Northwest Arkansas. A lot of hills, you know, not huge mountains like you see in Colorado or things like that, but they are decent sized mountains. So as far as how the land is, the landscape, it wasn't that different for me. But, I was 19, and just having that responsibility of being over there and being away from your family. I don't know. You probably know better than I am how many thousands of miles it is from here. But it was a big responsibility for a 19-year-old. But we got through it. It's probably the reason why I never really enjoy getting cold ever. I refuse to get cold just from the 11 months I was in Bosnia, which how cold it gets over there.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a great experience, and honestly, I'd do it again if I had to. It was a great experience.
Wow. So you were only 19 years old when you were put to be doing peacekeeping and support in Bosnia and Herzegovina at the time. And I'm
Right.
curious, beside the similarity in geography or landscape, I'm sure was in so many ways cultural shock in terms of people, or maybe wasn't. Do you mind sharing what was your feeling when you were starting to connect with locals and everything that you had a chance to see and observe? What were some of your reactions?
Well, before we went to Bosnia, I was in Germany for probably about 4 months.
Uh-huh.
So I was able to somewhat get acclimated to people around me that really doesn't speak. Actually, there's a lot more people in Germany that speak English, but there are some that don't, and I was able to get acclimated in Germany to people just being around a different nationality. So when I got to Bosnia, it really wasn't a big culture shock for me because, like I said, I grew up in Bismarck, Arkansas, and we didn't have a whole lot of money. So whenever we would go on show of force missions or go out into the town, which, right after the peace agreement, there was a lot of people that just didn't have a whole lot. And so it kind of felt like home, there's just normal people just trying to raise their kids the best way they can and just trying to survive. And in South Arkansas, that's kind of the way it is. We're all just trying to survive here. So it wasn't that much of a culture shock for me. I enjoyed it. People were super nice to me. Yeah, I mean, super nice, very nice people.
That is great to hear, and I'm so glad you had a positive experience because, unfortunately, obviously, as the war was starting and then midpoint in those 1993, 1994, things start kind of dying out, right? So you cut,
Yeah.
but conflicts that I witnessed and experienced firsthand around Sarajevo were just horrifying.
Yep.
And yes, people still will show up a lot of sympathy and a lot of support, but we're just like complete chaos. You never knew where enemies coming from and who is now fighting whom and what agreement they will follow through and which one
Yep.
they will not. So we're just so much confusion. And when you add also different peacekeepers in different countries and also different oppositions, we're just like even adding more to the chaos. And I remember vividly how much news and propaganda was at that time, even though it was not World Wide Web, as much was so many TV stations, radio stations, and misinformation.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how felt for you from that perspective, like in terms of safety and just understanding what was going on, because I felt like we're just so many different narratives simultaneously happening depending which region you're looking at.
It's being over there was at first, the first 3 or 4 months was really rough. It's like the equivalent of, in the films of old Western bar fights.
Yes.
It's like it's like being thrown into one of those bar fights and trying to break everybody up. And you don't know whose fault it is, who started it. It's chaos. But I think I got most of my strength from my buddies over there that was with me. We watched each other back and we helped each other. And that was the only way we could get through it. I mean, we first got over there, we didn't have running water. We didn't have bathrooms. I slept in a cot and a sleeping bag for 11 months. I didn't have a real bed, and for the first 4 months, we didn't even take an actual shower. We had to put water in our canteen holder and warm it up over the stove, over the Yukon stove that we had in our tent, and just used a washcloth and took baths that way. We did that for 4 straight months. And
Wow.
but it's things like that though that like they always say, it builds character. And so now I'm 48, and I still to this day refuse to camp in a tent. I will not sleep in a tent. I won't do it. If somebody wants to go camping, they're sleeping in a tent, I'm going to go find a hotel down the road, and that's where I'm staying. I'm just not going to do it. But when you go 4 months without having a bath or a shower, and the funny thing is the first time that it was around April, and there was a person that our commander knew. He was going to help us out. He had access to an old high school gymnasium, like a basketball gymnasium. That was, it had holes in it and blah, blah, blah. But still, the locker room, the showers were still working. There was no hot water. There was no heat. And it was April, so it was still pretty cold. So the first shower that I got in 4 months was absolutely ice cold. And so it's things like that you gain strength from, and just knowing that the guy behind me and the guy in front of me is going through the same thing I'm going through. So that in itself kind of helps get you through things. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for sharing that visual, because a lot of times people don't really realize how many things are taken for granted. And when you say about camping, I don't blame you, because you had a plenty of your share sleeping on the ground in cold environments that truly puts us. Also, you have to be awake and alert and able to fight if it's needed to be. And it's just very hard when you're trying to do so many things in such a really difficult environment. So I'm curious, in terms of the leadership and everything else, how was the opportunity to truly also be able to support or do some specific initiatives during that time that made you much stronger as a leader?
Yeah, just you're talking about being a leader now, what the things I learned from the military. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's there's so many things that I go back and take from just those 11 months. Especially, if something seems pretty hard, I'm thinking, this is going to be easy. I can do this. I mean, look what I did back in the 90s. That was, this is nothing compared to what I just did, or what I did, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, however long it is. So and when you have that mindset, I think it helps other people who hasn't had that experience. They'll hopefully pick up little things here and there from you, and then hopefully they'll have a better mindset moving forward. And I think that's a big thing, just to help people and to show them, like, this is really not that bad. But then you have to show them that it's not that bad. You can't just say, oh, that's not that bad, it'll be okay. That doesn't really it doesn't really give confidence to people. You have to show them that it's not that bad, and say, see, we did it, wasn't that bad. So then people start following you.
So very true. So very true. Specifically when it's something like that, when it's your life online. But with that in mind, I'm just curious, did you had anything that was like shocking, that was so different culturally than you were expecting, or just something that was funny? Because I know that so many guys always will say certain things were just like that they couldn't understand, that was either specific cultural custom or things they will say, or that made them totally differentiate from what we're used to.
Yeah. There was, I was, as far as the customs and everything, I wasn't able to be around locals as much as I really wanted to. I would say the one thing that shocked me, though, we were doing a show of force mission, and we were going through this small town, and it was getting really late at night. So we just pulled to the side, and we all found a couple of houses that we stayed in. So it was abandoned houses. Of course, they had massive artillery shell, holes in them. It was pretty amazing, not in a good way. But I remember we finally got settled, the heater's going, we're playing cards, and I just started, we got done with cards, and I just started walking through the house. It's like, I wonder if there's still things in this house, like personal things. There was, and it was very rough to see, because you would see a child's shoe laying over here, or you'd see one of the kids' teddy bears laying over here, and then you could tell, you can vision in your mind of how they were trying to get out of that house very quickly. They were just throwing stuff in bags or whatever, trying to get out, while artillery was just raining down on them. That was tough to watch. I think that was the one thing that shocked me the most, was how just quickly things change in your life, or can change in your life, and did change in their lives. But seeing all the children's rooms, and how it was, and the clothes and the toys and the dolls scattered all over the place, it's tough and it's even tough to think about now that I have children. I can't imagine as a parent having to go through that. That was the most shocking to me.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that, because obviously puts in perspective, specifically as we're seeing so many wars happening simultaneously right now around the globe, and how sometimes when we visit back, it's like how cost of freedom, right? And cost of what we have so we can enjoy, and what we need to do to preserve it. So, and we just celebrated Veterans Day here in the United States, and actually in Australia too. And it's so interesting to see how people react to things of that nature. But then after you finished your service in Bosnia, obviously you said you were in Germany, and then before you know it, you start transitioning in civilian world. How was that transition for you?
Very, very difficult. Yeah, very difficult. There are things that you have to, as you can see, I kept the same haircut as I did in the military. You have to keep somewhat of the same routine. Like, I still get up 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm at the gym by 6:30, 6:40. So that's kind of like my PT work. And there's really not, you have to definitely keep structure in your life. If you former military, you have to keep some kind of structure in your life, because that's all you did in a military. You knew exactly what time you had to get up, when you were going to eat, when you were going to go to the motor pool, work on your track, whatever you got to do, clean your weapons, clean your room, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff. It's all boom. This is what I have to do. And it makes you very OCD, and that's okay. It's a good thing to be.
Which proves how important it is to have a discipline, isn't it?
Sure it is. Yeah. And the discipline to see through what you actually have to do. You can make tons of goals all day long, but you have to see them through eventually at some point. But it took me probably 2 or 3 years to really kind of settle in to civilian world. Yeah.
Wow. So if you don't mind sharing it, because it's such a great point, because discipline is such a great part of the routine for everyone. And when we even speak with people that did not go to the military, but there are right now in working environments, is how do you transition from working from home or going in hybrid working environment? How do you put yourself as a priority? As we're seeing so much people putting themselves last instead of putting themselves first, in order so they can be the best they can be and show up for not only in business and also for their families, but frankly for themselves in terms of longevity and health and everything else. So I'm curious, what would be some advice for you for them? Because I know that's so easy to, fall behind discipline and fall behind some of the basic stuff. But what would you suggest and recommend for them to keep on that track and trajectory so that they don't slip?
Yeah, I would just say it's the it's like the rules on a flight when the oxygen mask comes down. What's the rule? Put yours on first so you can help other people. I think that's
Yes.
the same thing what you're talking about. You have to keep yourself healthy, eat right, a good eating regimen, work out, have time for you, meditate, whatever you got to do to keep your sanity so you can lead, so you can help other people. Because if you're nuts, if you're going crazy and you're not healthy and this and that, it's going to be very difficult for you to lead other people. So you have to work so much on yourself if you want to lead other people or even just help other people.
I love that. I love that because it's no excuse. And I know that sometimes we all slip a little bit in some ways. And that definitely shows, if we're slipping physical appearance, meaning if we're not as healthy as we could be or as fit as we could be, if we're not as rested as we could be, that really shows. And it does affect how do we perform. And sometimes we don't have the luxury not to be able to give the 100% or the best version of ourselves. With that,
Right.
I'm curious, how did you shift it and how did you get into film? I know you mentioned earlier how you were raised by your grandparents and how they, from early on, your father exposed you to the film. But I'm curious, what happened that gets you in the film and as an actor, as an acting career?
It really, I honestly wish I had a big fun story. It's pretty simple. I turned 40 and it was something that I always wanted to do. And I said, you know what? Try it out, see what happens. So I started asking around and, got some headshots, got an agent, started auditioning. There you go. Honestly, there's no, really special thing that happened in my life that, made me want to act. I turned 40 and I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to try my hand at film and, I'm not getting any younger, so let's try it. So here we go.
I love that. So it's never too late, according to you,
No.
Dustin, to reinvent yourself. It's never late to follow your dreams and never too late to try something new. So what it was your experience with auditions? Where do you feel like what types of characters you fit the best?
I honestly, my first few auditions were, and I'm honestly not I'm not good at auditions at all. I'm terrible at them. The first few auditions, I remember I was just drenched in sweat. I was so nervous. But you get used to it, and in time, and it doesn't really affect you that much anymore. But I'm just not very good at auditions. But I think the characters that I'm probably best at would have to be, I hate to say it, probably the bad guys. I don't know. I don't know if it's the way I look, but I can be very sarcastic. I'm pretty good at the comedy. I don't know if you watched Last Call, where I played Lucifer. And there's pretty much every film I've played, there's always some kind of sarcasm or some kind of evil involved. So I don't know. Maybe I'm getting typecast. Who knows?
That's okay. It's so funny because you go in military and you fighting the bad guys and you're the good guy who's trying to protect innocent people.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the flip side, in the films you play bad guy, bad character. And it's just so interesting. So you have 3 different productions that you've obviously been involved in recent time. One is on an intrusion. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that and that role that you played in?
Sure. It's called An Intrusion, and it's directed by Nicholas Holland, and you can find it on Amazon Prime. You can also find it on Tubi, and it's actually doing very well overseas. They just signed a contract with South Africa, so it's over in South Africa now. It's in South Korea. It's in a couple countries in Europe and South America. So it's starting to spread out different places. We honestly, one of the producers found me on social media, just saw my profile pic and got with Nicholas Holland, and said, I know you're looking for this character, and this guy I think fits this look. So Nick got in touch with me. I did an audition, and at that time, thankfully, it was good enough for him. And that was in March of 2019, and we filmed it in December. So I had a good 8 months to get ready. But it's very dialogue heavy, so I needed that 9 months. So I shot up to Michigan and filmed it, and I think we filmed it in 13 days. It was nonstop. Yeah, it was nonstop. It was from, I don't know, the wee hours of the morning till late at night. But we got it done in 13 days, and came back home in December of 19, and then all of a sudden COVID hit.
Yes.
Just a few months later, and then that shut everything down. There was really no reason to release it during COVID. No theaters are open, nothing like that. None of the streaming platforms were really accepting anything new at the time unless they made it, like Netflix or whatever. So they just thought it was probably and it was a great idea to wait and not release it until 2019, 2021, I think, when it released. So it was a good year and a half after we filmed it, because we just wanted to make sure COVID was somewhat out of the way before they released it. But I was able to meet some really awesome people that I'm still in touch with today, and the Michigan film, the family there in Michigan, great friends with Nicholas Holland, the director now, and he and I actually has already worked on one more film together, and we got another one coming up next year. So yeah, it was a great experience. One of the best experiences I've had in film so far.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that when you find the right character, not only by looks, but also personality. And when you can repeat the work and do some more work together, because again, back to that team, what makes such a great team to really work and cohesion, the chemistry, and make an amazing production as a result of it.
Yeah. And Nick is a great director as far as, he understands what an actor goes through. So he's not one of those directors that just runs around and screams at everybody, and he understands the process, and he understands what we're going through, and we're trying to give our best to him. And he's great in the sense also where he knows that if the actors under stress are not going to be able to give their best performance. Just anything when it comes to creativity. Any person that's creative, you can't force them. You just got to let them be, and you got to let them do it. You got to give them time, and then you'll get their best work if you do that. And he understands that. He's great at what he does.
Fantastic. And so it's so great to hear the story. I cannot wait, obviously, for the future ones to come out. But that particular one, also, I'm assuming that one is available as well on Amazon, right? You mentioned that. So in addition to The Last Call, that is as well the short one.
Yeah, Last Call should be available on Prime here pretty soon, in a couple days, actually. The other one that we shot a year ago, Pretty Canoe, that will be available on Amazon Prime on December 21st. We shot that one in August of 22. And that's a great film too. It did very well in the festival circuit.
That's fantastic. It's so great to hear that. And specifically, as we're looking for more content, for more powerful stories and things that are really can not only entertain us, but also give us some little bit of thrill and education and also fun. It's just the way to go. But you did also an interesting project that was done a little bit earlier. It's called Poor Mama's Boy. I just love the title. So do you mind sharing a little bit about that experience and kind of contrast these early days when you just started out and then where you are today? What would be some of the major aha moments from your perspective as an actor?
Yeah, that was one of the first films I ever did. And I was a pretty strong supporting role in that. And I was kind of thrown to the wolves in that film. Didn't really know what to expect, but we filmed it here in Arkansas. We filmed it in North Arkansas. The director and writer, Dalton Coffey, who is another director that understands what the actor goes through, and he's great at everything he does. Great DP behind the camera. He is awesome. But it was very difficult for me. I think the biggest thing I took from it was probably to work on my patience a little bit more. As far as just getting the scene right and just letting it come to you instead of trying to force it. But if you watch it, honestly, the way he shot it, I mean, there was a lot of actors in that film that kind of just got their big break in that film, but the way he shot it, you couldn't tell we were a bunch of rookies, but he did a good job. And it was like I said, it was one of the first films I ever did, and I'll cherish that film forever. And it's a good film too. It's a great film to watch.
That's fantastic. I love that when you just get out and you're already making a huge stride, and it doesn't look like that was your first show or first rodeo, as the so to speak, and as a result now keeps you very busy, because I'm looking also how many more new productions and things you having in the funnel that it's coming up, which is great, which seems like you're being in high demand.
I guess. I hope so. Yeah, I don't, of course, I get auditions too where I bomb and I never hear from them again. But, I always tell people, I get this a lot about advice to actors just getting in film. And one of the things that I say is just audition for everything. Everything. Even if there's not a chance in hell you're going to get that role, audition for it. Because even if you don't get it, it's still practice. It's still practice on auditioning. It's practice on learning the dialogue and delivering the dialogue. And for every 9 no's, you'll get 1 yes. Okay, that's pretty cool. If you could get 1 quality role a year, I'd say you're doing pretty good.
I love that. And it's just so great to see, like, when you have multiple 2 or 3 roles a year, that's even great, even though there's maybe smaller productions, smaller budgets, not only experience wise, but also showing diversification of your talent and different types of personalities. And as you said, learning and building. And as a result, the masterpiece takes time. It's going to come.
It really does. And the right role will find you. It will find you.
It's so interesting because I'm talking to in the past with so many actors and specifically on major festivals like Cannes Film Festival, Berlin Festival, that also have a market when we see what global market was interested in and what types of productions, etc. And we're just always intriguing to me to hear different paths, how people broke into the roles or just simply into that career. and everybody path seems like it's different, and some of them really struggled more and were not maybe as open or whatnot. Some people quit. Some people also that said, no way, it's not going to anything happen because of the COVID. And look at you blossoming, and you having so many roles just happening just in the last few years, which is fantastic. Kudos.
I think if you just hang back and do the best you can, and like I said, the right roles will find you. If you just I think when you try to force it too much, you miss out on a lot of roles. So if you just hang back, just submit yourself as much as you can on Actors Access, Backstage, all these other places, and it'll find you.
That's fantastic. What role would you say was the most challenging for you so far to play? That's something that really was personally giving you extra effort to make it happen.
It was probably Intrusion, probably playing Sam and Intrusion, just because I love just being sarcastic, being funny, and but there was really none of that in there. It was like the character is on edge, throughout the entire film, and he's either pissed off, he's screaming at somebody, or he's doing something he shouldn't be doing. He's doing something bad, and he's always kind of at war with himself the whole film. That was exhausting. That was tough. I couldn't really just break out and just have fun. I mean, I was having fun. Don't get me wrong with just being around Nick and all and Alex and a lot of the other people that was on set. But it was tough because it was a very, very serious role, and I had to be on edge the whole time. So I did that for 13 straight days, and then after that 13th day, I was exhausted. So that was the most challenging role I've had so far.
Wow, I can imagine staying in the character for 13 days for someone who is like that. It takes so much energy, concentration, as you said, if it's a script heavy earlier, also to really be uber focused so you know your lines and know where to insert and how to deliver them. That is truly craft. I can't believe that was your first one and it was so well done. That's awesome. But in terms of something that really helped you discover yourself, because I always say, regardless of the craft and what we do professionally, things always define us, right? Who we are as individuals, as a leaders, as a community members, or just as a people that really continue to grow and learn and build our character. What was something that you can say was character building through all of these experiences?
The one thing with the military, I think the military really built my faith, because when we were dropped off in Bosnia, there was probably 2 feet of snow on the ground. And some of the places that we had to occupy, we didn't know how many landmines, what were there landmines? Were there not landmines? What was going on? We had some people that thought that they knew the area and said, oh, no, you guys are good. Y'all can occupy that field or pasture or whatever. Well, when we pull up to the field, you step out and start doing your work to occupy the place, and you can't see what's on the ground because there's 2 feet of snow on the ground. So it's like every step I took, my legs were just, the first one I went to, my legs were just shaking. I was petrified to take another step. I didn't know. And my chief, he was just walking, doing stuff. And I was like, we don't even know what we're stepping on here. How are you doing this? He just said, you got to have faith, kid. And it just dawned on me, and I was like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. But you got to have faith that something good's going to happen, and nothing's going to happen to me. So that the military really built my faith in being optimistic that things are going to go well. Film has really built my patience, has helped my patience big time. Just, when you finish a film, sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes 2 years for it to be released. When you audition, you've done a really good audition. Sometimes it takes them a month to get back to you. And when you get an audition, sometimes it takes you a few days to learn the dialogue. You have to be patient. If you try to rush and try to learn the lines, you're going to get in that self-tape audition. It's not going to be very good because you're not going to know them very well because you try to rush through everything. So the film, auditions, just being in film, making film, producing film, patience. It has really built my patience big time. Helped, rather. Yeah.
I love how you divided that into different areas and how all of that actually are helping you tremendously to do the work that you're doing today, which is amazing. So in closing, you already obviously built tremendous legacy. You did so much with leading and living. And I'm curious, with everything that you're doing now in this chapter of your life, what would you like your legacy to be?
My legacy. Oh, I hadn't really thought about that. I honestly, I would rather if people remember me, just remember that I tried my best to help. That's it. I mean, I think if you're not helping somebody, you're wasting your life. If you have the means to help and you're not helping, then you're just wasting your life.
I love that.
Yeah, I just think, people need help, especially nowadays. So I think I would just want people to say, yeah, even if I made a difference in one person's life, there you go. That's all I want.
Amazing. Amazing. I love that. That is such a beautiful way, because it shows also where you come from when you're heart center, when you're also willing and caring about others. Others will take care of you. It's just the natural way how the world works. And it's just so great to see, because a lot of times people aspirations are, I want to be the best in that, I want to accumulate money or visibility. But in reality is, if we're not helping people, that doesn't go far as people might be thinking.
Yeah, you can't hook up a U-Haul on the back of the hearse. You can't take it with you.
Yes.
So you might as well try to help as many people as you can.
Absolutely. With that in mind, when people wanted to get in closing, reach out to you or be able to connect or see some of your work, where they should go, Dustin? Because I really want them to have a chance and opportunity to benefit of some of your amazing work that you already did.
Sure. There's a few things they can do. They can go to IMDb. They can check that out. They can go to Google, just Google my name. That should pull up all the films. Or honestly, they can just find me on social media, on Facebook or Instagram, and I can send them a link to the films. It's not a big deal. I can do that.
That's fantastic. So for everybody watching and listening, opportunity to hear Dustin, to see him, first of all, in acting, but also to see future projects, keep in touch, but also to have opportunity to engage. Again, we'll leave some of those links, but it's a great opportunity also to continue to keep close eye, because it's so phenomenal to see how someone, again, from 19 years old in the military, serving overseas, turned around and found different avenues and also started brand new career paths, and it's reaping tremendous success as we're seeing right now. So we're eager to see where things will take you, and we definitely will want to down the road bring you back and hear some more exciting news and projects you are going to be doing.
I would love that, Izabela. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to chatting with you soon.
Great. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Legacy Leader Show. If you enjoyed the content and had a positive experience, then please leave us a positive rating. In addition, leave us a positive review whenever you are listening on whatever platform there might be. Make sure your friends and family also know about the benefit and value that we provide, and what we have to offer. Cheers.